that's a very strong political signal. Secondly, the accord addresses many of the key political issues that were stuck in the negotiations, like a long-term target, financial support for developing countries. So I think the Copenhagen Accord can be a very important tool in order to advance the formal negotiations. And that's the thing that needs to happen next, progress in the formal negotiations.
So since we know now you're going to step down soon, so probably it's a load off your back and your shoulder, what are the things that, do you think, for the past 3 years and a half, what are the challenges you think that you have faced that you think can be addressed for the next leadership forward?
I think that the main challenge has been that this has been a very politicized process. That sometimes people forget that this is about preventing human-induced climate change, and the focus is entirely on the politics. And I think that that's also the priority moving into the future, that we focus more on the substance, and that we focus more on creating the architecture that will make it possible for developing countries to engage on climate change.
And for yourself, the UNFCCC has been a process on since 1992. So what do you think, out of your head, what are the 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses, key weaknesses and key strengths of the CCC process?
I think the first strength is that it involves all of the countries of the world, that it's not just oriented on the big nations, but also on the small developing countries that will be impacted by climate change. The second advantage is that I think it has shown that it works. We have already the Kyoto Protocol, which is the first legally binding instrument on climate change, and I think that we can build on that. And the third advantage, I think, is that it has shown that it can create an architecture, a framework, which offers real benefits, real advantage to developing countries. In terms of the 3 weaknesses, I would say, first of all, that it's very complicated because the issue is so complicated. Secondly, that it moves very slowly as a negotiating process. And thirdly, that it needs to address more directly the interests of developing countries.
Okay, so maybe could you just share with us a bit more as well? What's your view on the upcoming leadership? What's your senses about the leadership coming up? What are the challenges that he will face to make sure that we can have a legally binding agreement in Mexico? He or she, sorry.
It's not going to be a lady? Okay.
He or she, my bad.
I think the main challenge is to rebuild trust and confidence in the process, to create an operational architecture that really makes developing countries confident that they will be supported in acting on climate change.
So how do you think the NGO can enhance the FCCC process? I mean, we saw last year the challenges the civil society has came in. How do you think we could prevent such challenges that came out again, and how important do you think is the civil society in part of the process?
Well, civil society is very important to the process. Civil society, especially the green organizations, the non-governmental organizations, are very important as the conscience of the process to keep reminding the politicians that this is about a very serious issue. At the same time, there are very many academic institutions that offer useful insights on the issue of climate change. And thirdly, I think that the involvement of business as the companies that will ultimately have to deliver the solutions is also very important.
So moving out of the FCCC, going to KPMG, what do you hope to do at KPMG itself?
I hope to work a lot more on helping businesses understand that moving forward on climate and sustainability is in their advantage, that it's essential. And secondly, I hope to have an opportunity to work more on the cooperation between the public and the private sector.
Thank you so much. So we'll move on to the GC itself. So this is the first GC meeting after Copenhagen. Being here yourself, what are the key objectives you want to do here? I mean, what do you hope to achieve here?
I think the debate that's happening here on the green economy is very important, because ultimately you need to be able to make a convincing case that you can achieve climate change, avoid climate change, and achieve economic growth at the same time, that those two issues are not mutually exclusive. So that debate here is very important in terms of advancing the understanding that green economic growth is a possibility. And And secondly, this offers an opportunity for me to meet a number of ministers, to get their impressions of what happened in Copenhagen and get their advice on how to move forward.
So, I mean, there were some people in the civil society were saying about hidden agenda, that the main climate change is not part of the whole agenda this time. I mean, it's green economy, but climate change as a topic by itself is not a key focus. And a couple of days back, people were also debating, should climate change be put in the document itself? What's your take about that?
Well, whether it's on the agenda or in the document or not, it's what everybody has been talking about here so far today. So I think it's still very much at the heart of the debate.
So, thank you so much for that. So that ends it. The last part is on the Rio Plus 20. So we know Rio Summit is coming up. It's 2 years from now. So your personal take about it, what do you hope to see as the outcome of the Rio, or in fact, maybe the agenda? It's not firm, really cast in stone at this point, but what do you hope to see of the Rio Summit, and what relevance do you think it has? We have it in 92, we have it in 2002. So what's going to make this Rio Plus 20 any different from the previous summit?
I hope that green growth will be at the heart of the Rio Plus 20 agenda, that we really manage to focus that on how the world economy can be grown in a more sustainable way. At the same time, I think there will probably be quite a lot of disappointment about the Millennium Development Goals and the fact that those goals have not been achieved. So I think Rio Plus 20 on the one hand needs to take stock of where do we stand on the Millennium Development Goals, but also needs to be positive and forward-looking in the context of green economic growth.
Okay, so now this last part, it's more of an advertising kind of thing, where again it's telling the young people, as you know we deal with young people, like speaking to them, telling them some words you like to tell them.
Well, my hope is that young people will stay enthusiastic, will stay engaged. It's all about your future, and it is only by telling the politicians that you care about this issue that it will stay at the top of the political agenda. Hello, my name is Yvo de Boer and you're watching the Eco TV.